Wednesday, March the 2nd. Lake level is a little over 915. It's up about 6 or 8 inches since the report last week. They seem to be dumping some water out of Beaver and actually picked up the generation on Table Rock. They're generating a lot more the last 3 or 4 days than they have been. Water temperature hadn't changed a whole lot except for late in the day. This morning when I went out, water temperature, I was about 46 degrees. And you know, every afternoon you can find some water 50 or above in the backs of the creeks or even in some of the main lake pockets where the wind's been blowing. A lot of the same patterns are still happening, but there's a lot of things changing, and it's fixing to get better and better. If we get a few more days of 60, 70 degree weather, warm that water up a few more degrees, I think it's really going to go crazy. I mean, I've had some really good days. Had some days where I've had like 20 keepers on a crankbait. Then I'll go out the next day and I may fish 3 or 4 hours without a bite before you start getting onto them again. They seem to be on the same type of rock, but you just got to fish lots of it. And the same patterns are working throughout the lake. Fished from Ants Creek, Baxter, Campbell Point area up to the dam. I've mainly been fishing with the crankbait in the off-colored water because I don't feel like I need the wind if I'm in that stained water. You know, a lot of things on my crankbaits, I'm catching them on different crankbaits, but the similarities are the colors. You know, crawdad patterns, something with some red or orange seems like it's a must. The rock crawler's been working real good. I've been catching some on a Strike King Series 5. This is a red one with a dark green back. V38 Wigglewort. I've been catching some on some of the Fall Creek custom painted Wigglewort. But it seems like I said, I have to have a little chartreuse or orange in them. And one of the keys for me seems to be you have to know what that bait's doing. You know, we're working the bait pretty slow. A lot of the bites are coming from when it either bounces off a rock or a stump. You either pause it for just a second, or when it bumps off that piece of structure, all of a sudden it'll load up. It's not a hard bite, just all of a sudden, you know, get a little extra pressure. Feels more like a pressure bite, like you're picking up a leaf or something on your hook. Now the rods, I'm using Lew's rods, and you know, I've mainly been a graphite rod guy, but I've been playing with a glass rod quite a bit. Still fishing with a graphite rod as well. It's a 7-foot Team Lew's, the David Fritz rod. It's a fiberglass rod. Really got a lot of bend to it. And I can really feel the action of whether it's the Wigglewort or the rock crawler. I can feel what that bait is doing so much more than I can on a graphite rod. Now the graphite rod I use is a Team Lew's custom speed stick, and it's a medium light. They actually make one or designed one just for a Wigglewort. This one I've got here is an inshore. It's for trout and redfish. A little bit lighter action than the Wigglewort rod. Real soft tip. You cast the bait real good. And I can also feel the bait and all the action on it real well. The thing I'm noticing on the glass rod is I don't seem to be losing as many of the bites that I am with the graphite rod. You know, I think when you set the hook or just kind of sweep into it, the glass rod has got so much more give to it that you tend to pull the bait out of the fish's mouth with a little bit stiffer rod. But the jerkbait bite and the Alabama rig bite, if you want to key on that, I would suggest go into the clearer water. And from the Kings River on up into the white seems to be the best looking water. It's more like normal table rock color. It's got visibility 6 to 8 foot up in that area. So that's a good area to try to catch fish on a suspended jerkbait around submerged timber. And also you can, bring the boat out to 30, 35 foot, throw the Alabama rig, let it go down to about 10 foot, keep it suspended. I'm having trouble getting any kind of suspended bite down in the stained water. Any place where the water's stained, majority of my fish seem to be on bottom. I am catching a few on a Ned rig, some on a jig, catching more on a crankbait than anything. And even the fish on a jerkbait that I'm catching in the stained water are real close to the bottom because I'm setting the boat in 15 to 20 foot, and a lot of the bites on the jerkbait as well as the crankbait are anywhere from 5 foot out to about 8 or 10 foot out from the bank. Now I have caught a few fish out a little further on the crankbait, and they've been mainly Kentuckies. Most of the largemouths and smallmouths seem to be pretty tight to the bank, and a lot of the rock they're keying on, it's kind of a cross between gravel and big ledge rock. It's where you got, black rock, football size, little gravel mixed in with it. One of the biggest keys seems to be a channel swing, whether you're in a creek or out on a secondary point. Whatever side of the point has got a little bit deeper water on it, where a channel swings into it, seems to be the best. And, the wind hadn't really been a real big factor for me, especially in that stained water. Seems like I can get as many bites where it's dead slick. Just got to work the bait a little bit slower. But those are the areas in them pockets where it's dead slick to be a good place to throw a Ned rig. And the Ned rig I've been throwing, I forget the color, but it's a Strike King. It's a 0, but it's got a little orange and brown in it. And that seems to work real good for me in the stained water. Now the jig, I've been throwing a black and blue jig, and I've actually been putting a green pumpkin trailer on it. And I've been kind of mismatching it the other way. If I throw either a brown or green pumpkin jig, I've been throwing a black and blue trailer. But it seems like I got to fish those, extremely slow. And more of a finesse jig, I've been fishing up to about a 3/8 to a 7/16, but the smaller jig seems to work a little bit better. And I had my grandson out fishing with me the other day, and I had him throwing that wiggle wart on a spinning rod with a 10-pound, this new line that Lou's has. It's a yellow braid, but I had 10-pound braid. And with the clarity of the water, I didn't feel like I needed to tie on a fluorocarbon or mono leader. So I was tying directly to the crankbait. And he was having good success with that. And I think a lot of the reason was because you could feel everything that bait was doing, especially with the braid on there. And I was throwing it on a Mag 1 spinning rod, 7-foot spinning rod. But on that braid, you can feel all the action, of the bait. Normally, I wouldn't fish braid in the clear water, but, our watercolor's nowhere close to normal. But I think a few more degrees and the fishing's really going to bust open. Just about every day I've been out fishing, I've had one between 4 and 5 pounds. Some days a couple of them. And the fish are really healthy, chunked up real good, getting good color to them. And I think we're really fixing to see some of the bigger fish in the next couple of weeks. We get a little bit more of a warming trend. We got a tournament this weekend. Weather's supposed to be pretty stable, but with it getting down to like 27 degrees to 30 at night, we're not gaining a whole lot. Late in the afternoon, it seems like I got a pretty good bite going in the morning, and this seems to be a 3 or 4 hour dead spot. But once that sun's been up for a while in the afternoon, seems like that water's warming up, then fish are moving around a little bit more, and the bite picks up. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.